Okay, hey, welcome to the Community Podcast. It's actually the Liverpool Community Podcast here on Liverpool Online. I'm your host, Chase Johnston Lynch, and as usual, I talk to a member of our community that I feel I want to hear more about and you want to hear more about. And this is an old friend, so she's been on the show before. She likes to pretend that she hasn't been here before. But, now that she has something to say, she's like, hey, how come I can't come on again? So I would like to ask you to welcome Jubeda Khatun from Blackfest. How you doing, Jubeda?
I'm doing good, and yeah, I'm just grateful to be here. Big condo.
No. Well, Jubeda, it's really good having you here. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where you know people, because we've known each other for like about a good 5 years now, I think. And, you never think, hey, yeah, you want to come on my show and stuff and everything. But I figured, all right, well, maybe when is the time to update people about Blackfest and what you're doing? And now seems to be a good time because you've been working really hard and diligently to get the name Blackfest out there, to get the work of what Blackfest does out there, and to get appreciated for it as well, in the sense of going for the awards. And you actually have two, not just one, but two awards, your babies, on the couch right next to you.
Yes, it's absolutely amazing to finally get recognition for Blackfest, Just to think the early days of 2018 and piloting it all the way through to now and all the hard work that's gone into it, just from platforming, developing and celebrating Black arts in Liverpool, it's still such a need. And it's amazing that the work that was initiated in 2018, I can see lots of work igniting all across the city, and it's just a fire that's just been ignited, and lots of other things have come about after that. And it's amazing to see more stuff happening in the city, and particularly with yourself. I remember that first conversation we had in the Brink, and the Brink is no longer there anymore. We've gone through COVID as well and survived COVID and still here, trying our best to still keeping our head above water, still grassroots, and we're just mustering on. But as a young company ourselves, here at Big Condo and stuff like that, when you're an organization in the city and and you're looking for funding, it's like you got to get through kind of your first year's account. And then like not many people get to the second sophomore year, and then it's only until when you get to that third year that finally hey, well, now you're an organization, and we need to take a look at you and what you're doing and stuff, and and then here it is at the time where, as an organization that has lasted that long, the competition goes down, and then here you are, Merseyside Women of the Year awards, and being recognized not just for yourself, Woman of the Year, but also for the organization as Arts, Culture, and Media. Tell me about that, because there was a lot of votes that had to go in for that. Yeah, so the initial nomination, the judges had to vote on the initial nomination that went in, and then added up those scores to the public vote, which came to 1,716, which I know, I was just I honestly was up against an amazing woman that I admire as well in the city, and I had a distinct conversation thinking, I'm not going to get it again. I'm a fan of this woman, and I absolutely love what they do. Honestly, I went in there thinking I'm just going to be networking, and in fact, on the actual award day, I thought it was in the evening for some odd reason. Mm-hmm. And I get a phone call in the afternoon, and they was just like, Jubeda, where are you? And I'm like, I'm in work, because, running in a grassroots organization is you've got to graft, it's a lot of graft, and it's a lot of planning, and it's a lot of, so, I can't miss a day almost. So she was just like, oh, well, the awards is right, now. And I was like, oh, well, it's not meant to be. I'm not meant to be there. I'm all about energy as well. So I just thought, if I'm not there, then it probably means that I've not, She goes, oh, no, Jubeda, you've got to be here. It's a good opportunity for you to network, and you may have missed lunch, but don't worry, we can reach things. When can you get here? I was like, so it was 12:40, and I was like, it was nearly 1:00, and I was like, I'll probably get there for 1. And I was like, no, rethink that. 1:30, okay, 1:30. So I deserve a medal just to I got to the award ceremony within. So from Kensington, I went to from Toxteth, I went to Kensington, and from Kensington, I went all the way to the awards.
just rushed it there. Just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then, just to win, it was just absolutely amazing. And just want to thank everybody who's ever been a part of the platform, whether you're an artist, you know, whether you've produced parts of the festival, whether you've, you know, any kind of small or big contribution. I can't thank, you know, everybody who's played a part in Blackfest and getting it to where it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so at this point in time, you know, like helping us out as far as Blackfest is concerned, instead of asking you what is Blackfest, right, I want to ask you, what does Blackfest mean to you?
Oh my gosh, Blackfest just means so much to me because I know the amount of opportunities it brings to the city. And, you know, like, even from 2018, 2019 to 2020, when I hit recession, when we hit the pandemic, and I keep saying recession because it feels like a lot of people are like, you know, with the energy bills going up, it just almost feels like we're heading towards not really nice times. But anyway, just the pandemic, I just thought, how am I going to cope in the pandemic? It was like we had such a high and then it was only meant to go up. And I was just like, the pandemic hit and it was so scary at that time. And my thing is with Blackfest, I've always been impulse driven with it. I'm like, you can't just, like, the artists are there, what are you going to do? Like, you've got to give them a safe space. I was thinking about mental health and all these extra things that came with the pandemic. So, you know, we were the first to actually go digital, one of the first organizations to go digital and do a digital Blackfest Live Lounge, which we initiated in 2019. And it was the first one of those events where we also invited audience members to join. It was really fun. We did lots of freestyling, lots of, you know, young people got to share their thoughts about COVID and stuff like that. We followed it up with the Night In series, also giving more artists opportunities.
But let's talk about the artists in that aspect, though, because, you know, I mean, like, we're talking about spoken word artists, you know, writers, artists in that way. So that's what I mean, like, you know, your role to help them develop and celebrate their diversity, I believe you said. And so, I mean, how was that?
Yeah, so, you know, we have programs as well. So, like, we launched the Blackfest Writers Room, for example, where they got to work with Maurice Bestman, one of the really amazing, renowned, you know, writers. He introduced the first Black family into Hollyoaks and things like that. So, you know, a few artists got to enjoy working with Maurice. We curated partnerships with Royal Court, Everyman. So yeah, even getting access to buildings and, you know, enabling that access and, you know, the tech support on and all of that the artists that get that is amazing. Even the Blackfest Live Lounge, the festival. We've also done a retreat. You know, we've done a retreat as well where we looked at Black mental health and, like, just generally, like, just supporting people who are just going through tough time, especially grief. You know, a lot of people, you know, going through COVID are also going through a lot of grief. And the retreat was absolutely amazing. We looked at body, mind, spirit, and also, like, it was for us also to kind of look at ritual art of remembering and really coming back to yourself and looking what's inside and really amplifying that, as you say, like, you know, claiming the lands, you know. And it was amazing, the retreat, and just took loads of artists, and it was a national project as well. So it took artists all across the UK that we had engaged. That was 2021, engaged all across so we, as much as we also have you know, projects that develop their art, we also have projects that, you know, sort of also want to kind of support their mental health. And even things like Black Trade, we'll try our best within the festival, even 2019, looking at holistic practices, you know, as well, and trying to find holistic ways and to support the community.
Well, I mean, basically working with various creative people, what seems to be good of what you say about Blackfest is that there's kind of like a communal way or of looking at its development, isn't there? So it's like you take upon feedback from your representatives to inspire, like, what's the next thing you're going to do or the next project you're going to create, isn't it?
Yeah. So every time throughout the festival we'll have feedback from artists, and that's when we curate, like, projects throughout the year. So as an example, one of the artists came up to me and was involved in a house music project, celebrating house music project, and the curators that were putting a show together had absolutely no idea that house music actually came from Black and African spirituality, and that's the root. So I said, well, let's, instead of sort of going back to those kind of individuals, let's actually create a project. And so we did the origins of house. Then we looked at sort of self-love as well. With lots of things that society puts on young people, it's easy to kind of go down a road that's not really, really nice. And like you have a lot of self-sabotage and things like that. So we want to kind of look at, and self-love is something still, a lot of people are on a journey on. So we're still sort of exploring that. So we've got the film we are screening soon, and it's a private screening, so if anybody wants to come, it's info at blackfest.co.uk to come along at the Fact 25th of July. So to see some of the pieces that were created.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that though first though. I mean, like the self-love, because I mean, basically, you're talking about celebrating self-love, but understanding that there's self-hate.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
That was one of the feedback that we got. It's like, I did a workshop in 2019, and one of the artists I really, really admire, like Jubeda, when you talk about self-love, I think of self-hate. So I just think there's a lot that we need to do a lot of work. As to look at young people and seeing how we can uplift and see some of it is quite deeply ingrained, and it's
systemic, isn't it?
It is systemic.
It's like unfortunately, when you're dealing in the realm of ethnic diversity, you got to recognize that you got generations of pain. Yeah. That are ingrained in the cells of certain people and stuff like that. So that's why this probably. So
and that's how it came about. And I think cultural liberation, when we take away certain things, like with Blackfest, it is really a lot more about celebration and Black joy than it is sort of perpetuating certain narratives. And self-love was one of the projects that we did to celebrate that. And then we also, we identified that we don't actually engage a lot of sort of people who identified as disabled. So we did a hip-hop dance project with an amazing good friend of mine who runs Rationale Arts. He created what's called the Rationale Method. And the Rationale Method is using soundscapes to kind of describe movements, so it's more accessible for people who can't see or mobility issues and things like that. So for them to kind of access dance and things like that. So I got him down to kind of run a project with me, and it kind of ended up being a show in the Open Call in Unity Theatre last year.
Is this the show around neurodiversity?
It was around neurodiversity. It was a political piece. It was a political devised piece. It was around politics as well. So the young people were very, very aspirational. They had lots to say. One of the young persons, I mean, the only thing they got out of bed for was this hip-hop dance project. And, they had lots of kind of other special needs, and it was nice to see this young person blossom through the project and actually do a whole monologue and do a solo breakdance. So it's things like that I loved about Blackfest, and I still love about Blackfest. Not just mental health. We look at actually, like you said, skills development. We also want to also research things like music and actually educate people on where the roots come from. And I think there was a lot of education that happened during Black Lives Matter 2020, and I still at 2022 still finding myself having very simplistic conversations where there is still a lot of education still needs to happen, and it's not from our end really. So I just this is also a note to people to actually pick up that book that's been recommended to you and read it and stuff like that. And there's lots that's been recommended over Black Lives Matter during 2020, and I suppose that was another extra pressure that was then applied to Blackfest, and I just thought this is too important to let go.
Well, I mean, you said something that was very interesting, and I wanted you to expand upon that when you're in this topic area. That you said, like, when you take away racism, then you're left with culture.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So I think for me, looking at yourself and looking at your heritage and actually looking within yourself and actually seeing where your culture actually comes from and what's so amazing about your culture. If I take myself as an example, like before the vegan craze, like the jackfruit was always the Bangladeshi sort of national fruit. So we always knew about that. And so I mean, that's excellence, isn't it? Like, that's amazing. Like, that's something that's quite unique to my culture. I think it's something to celebrate. So for me, it's the same. You apply the same method, sort of like in terms of cultural liberation. It's pre-colonial. It's looking at the civilizations. There was civilizations, and there's just so much history and there's so much beauty in that history as well.
So much to learn.
So much to learn, and so much to celebrate. Like you were saying earlier as well about smallpox, and founded by black doctors and things like that. And it's celebrating all those things that we are not celebrated, but the black community are not celebrated for, and other cultures are not celebrated for.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and if people watch my show, they know I'm always on it, and here he goes again, on Black excellence and I will continue to talk about Black excellence because I think it's important, especially with different guests who can actually share in the details around it.
And on Black excellence, actually, there's so much, and excellence can be something quite scary as well, and I don't think we should always kind of put that pressure, put that pressure on young people that if you're not excellent, you're not something. Do you know what I mean? There is this new thing, but in saying that, I get the context you're saying it in, is that definitely, like, I want to look at the aspirations of today. I want to know who's here right now and what are their aspirations, and see how I can sort of amplify that message. And we've done that.
Okay, but see, now we're in an arguments phase.
Why?
No, because everybody's excellent. Right, that's first and foremost. But the point about it is that saying I want to look at who's great now, we have to look at
great
who's
now.
Great. Well, no,
not in a sense about great now.
The word you said. I'm just trying to say is that there's nothing wrong with finding the gems of today. But what I'm trying to say is those gems have to be inspired. And they would be inspired if you let them know that there was gems of yesterday. That's all I'm saying.
No, I know the excellence you're talking about. That's what I said. But there's a new generation of young people that do feel like always talking about Black excellence. It's a lot of pressure on them. It's like, unless I'm excellent.
When do we talk about it that they have that pressure? I mean, they go to school. They're on the streets. When do they actually hear that there was ability to be excellent? I mean, we're too busy with systemic racism around us, where people are afraid to walk down the street. You walk down the street and people yell at you outside of cars, or police, pull you over and misunderstand the fact that you don't have your wallet. I mean, like, or they accuse you of things before you even get to say what you're actually doing.
No, I completely hear what you're saying, Chase. Is actually when you see something, and it's like having that point of reference and then believing in it. You see what you believe. It's having a point of reference as well, isn't it? Like seeing something, then you believe it. Like, oh my God, there's representation. Someone like that looks like me has achieved great things, and without having that standpoint, without having that.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Somebody who's done something that I have had a small interest in science or music. I mean, first of all, music, forget about it, because we always are pushed that way, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're always pushed. Black people always pushed into.
I don't know if you're pushed that way. I wouldn't use the word pushed, because for me it's like
expectation.
The rhythm is there. That's what I was talking about. Expectation.
Oh, don't you talk about the rhythm is there?
The rhythm isn't it? Like, I just feel that there is no. I'm sorry, but I just think there's something about the culture that it's just the rhythm of the culture. It's amazing, and
all right,
that's something to celebrate. But again, the expectation. When you look at expectation and excellence, I think that's what I'm more talking about. But I'm not disagreeing with you about the fact that people should have points of reference of excellence where there's something to aspire to. But I'm also interested in aspirations now. Like, what are people aspiring to now?
And I agree with you, because in that aspect, you are actually working on a project right now that's all about that. So I don't want people to think I'm attacking Jubeda. But
you're not attacking me, we're just having a normal conversation.
Exactly. You're actually working on a project behind the belief of what you're stating called Tell everybody what is.
I'm not okay, so we want to launch a project, and it's been in the making.
We're working on it.
It's been in the making since 2019, to be honest, and it's been an idea at the back of my mind. It's an acronym called and it's Youth Empowerment Arts Hub, and it's youth led. The youth tell us if they want to do a music project, if they want to do, it's arts led, so it could be animation, could be whatever, and we sort of
should probably be adding STEM in there then.
What's that?
Science, technology.
Oh yeah, science. No. But I know what you mean by STEM. But what I'm saying is, it's more to do with could I add science? I mean, for me, life is art, isn't it? So everything for me is art. So it's going to be youth led, and we're going to be ensuring that young people kind of want to tell us what they want to do and which creative art form they want to kind of explore. And we just curate a project and obviously do a couple of sharings, hopefully create more pathways as well for them to either go to college or kind of also kind of point them in the right direction as well into other institutions that might be doing projects that they can apply for. Because one thing coming out of university, what people don't know is that I do have a drama degree and I completed my degree in acting in 2009. But I never was given the guidance as to where to go. It was just like, get yourself an agent. And there's like a Farsi film of me in
throwaway
Birmingham.
line. Get yourself an agent, but get out of my face.
Exactly. And it's like, they didn't tell us that sometimes theatres give you commission, this gives you commissions, look out for it here. Or there was no sort of resources to support. I'm talking 2009. So like with Blackfest as well, we try our best to give the resources and say, look, so-and-so is looking for a visual artist or so-and-so is looking for this and that. And, kind of... or if we can take to the company and say, do you want to curate it with us? And we kind of curate it with a few artists we already know. So it kind of works that way in terms of,
Well, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, because you introduced me to a word that I think I haven't really focused too much on before, and I thought it was really interesting, and that was neurodiversity. And I was going to ask you again, what does that mean?
So it means you're on the spectrum.
I always just said I'm on the spectrum. So
neurodiversity is just that your mind is just diverse in the way it thinks and it retains information. I was diagnosed with ADHD in February officially. Recently, which I've been told like all throughout even running Blackfest. Do you know you might have ADHD? So I think I'm on a journey as well to get that support that I need to be able to kind of manage, but at the same time, that's why it's been successful at the same time, because you can manage loads of different things together at once, multiple things.
And was it said with like a tone of a dirty word, like it's a bad thing? Jubeda, it's like you got a touch of ADHD.
It's a superpower. It is a superpower.
Thank you very much.
It is a superpower. A lot of people that I know, it is a superpower. But there was, you can say touch of whatever, but people would just mention it in conversation, not in a malice way, and actually in concern, because they can see my mind was like a million miles per hour, and a lot of people just found it hard to keep up.
Well, listen, I equate it to, I often tell people, the stream of consciousness is a flow of ideas that flow overhead, and all I do is do this and grab them. Do you know what I mean?
It's true.
It's because I have the ability to see that, and because I, see differently than I think other people see.
Yeah.
Probably people like me see, but like that's how I equate it, because like it is like a superpower.
It is.
Do you know what I mean? And but it could be problematic in other situations, but good in other situations. And everything. But it does take the ability to focus. But as long as you don't have any negativity attached to it, because it's like when people kind of throw it at you, like when autism used to be a dirty word in that aspect, and make you feel bad. It's like, imagine being self-mute and you're told, oh, you're autistic, you're different, you're that, and then what are you going to do? You're going to probably stay self-mute. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think it's what they're saying is that when we do the project, the disability project as well, the people who are identified as disabled, is one of the things that Richard Nutter from Dada Fest really said to me, which really struck me, was the fact that it's society that disables, people, and it's not the disability itself. It's society and how we view it, and we have to, enable and able it, you know what I mean? So it's like, so he was very conscious about how you would say things, how you'd phrase things. So it was like people who are identified as disabled, because it's not a disability, people are able to do it. People are able to, you just have to give them the strength and the power and give them the confidence to be able to do that. And that really struck me when I was doing the hip hop dance project. I'm like, it's society that disables you.
No, exactly. I remember,
it's the misinformation, like it's the how people view disability and
yeah. I mean, I remember working out at a college, Lancaster, down probably like the Midlands, and there was a college for young people with disabilities and stuff like that. And I went in there to deliver media class and everything, and like it was like
it's about your fear being imprinted upon on the other. It's like, oh, they probably can't hold the camera, or they probably can't do this, and it's like, well, you actually don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like in your open-mindedness, we were able to make a film. It's like, there was like a couple of young people that were in wheelchairs, and all we did was get a clamp and clamp the cameras onto the wheelchairs, so that way, they could still view through the camera and still had the ability to press the button and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm just trying to say is where there's a will, there's a way, isn't it? And everything. But it is always about, your thinking. It's always about what you're going to put on to that other person. Like, you can't do this because you are less than. But as opposed to, you can do this because you probably can, get a better shot than me. Or, you know what I mean? So, no, it's just amazing.
It is amazing. And I have to say, I am quite grateful to be in the arts sector, because I do think they are pushing more education on neurodiversity. That's why obviously you were saying it was a nice word for you to hear, but it is because I'm part of the arts sector, and I know the Arts Council provide access support, and when you're putting in information and doing projects with them, so it's important that people do know that put your access cost in there if you need support. These things are possible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you got the Self-Love Project coming up on the 25th of July. That's going to be at the Fact.
Yes.
And everything else like that. It's private screening and all, but still...
info at blackfest.co.uk. Yep.
Okay. But then you have the Blackfest... I was going to say the Blackfest Festival.
Blackfest 2022.
Yeah, Blackfest 2022 coming up. 1st of September to the 2nd of October?
Well, not that.
Well, no, I know it's September 24th to the 2nd of October.
2nd of October, yeah.
You're going to also have some pre-events as well.
So the 1st of September, we've got may do a little event in Palm House just to let people know and get geared up for the festival. Because we for some reason, we need to reach more people. I just feel like still, I've won this award. It's amazing to get recognition, and I hope that a lot more people have found out a bit more about the festival. We are on Visit Liverpool as well now. I mean, last year, I think Visit Liverpool put us on their website as well, as Blackfest being a festival in Liverpool, and things to do kind of thing. And so it was amazing to even get that and be part of that culture of capital of Liverpool, and
capital culture,
and being part of that. But now I just think that we just want to give a bit more prior notice to people in terms of like being more engaged with the festival. So hope to have a little celebrationary opening event on the 1st of September. And then obviously we're going on to the festival. And I think this year we may even get the PA head to really open up the festival and things like that. So we're working with lots of partners across the city again. Unity, we've got Fact, Philharmonic, and lots.
And you're also working with us, yeah.
And yourself. I was going to say, we may be working on a fashion project together that might even feature in the festival. Why not? And things like that. And National Museums Liverpool. So, we built up a lot of, partnerships across the years with the city, and, our relationship with the communities are growing each day. Like I said to you earlier, like traders, like honestly, like there's so many traders that I absolutely admire in Liverpool, whether it's food, holistic practices, jewellery, sort of just so much creative arts. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's seeing how we can sort of involve everyone in the festival and like give traders work, musicians, artists, artisans, like everybody, like it could be as diverse as possible. Like there's so many new segments I was to cook up every other day to include, because the general ones are film, spoken word, theatre, music. We do a diversity dialogues.
Plays.
Sorry, say that again.
Plays.
That comes in the theatre. I feel like I've missed one, spoken word and poetry, but like I want to even include things like musical theatre, because even there's a miss, like there's not enough representation. I also want to include like comedy, because I think like even a comedy night, it's amazing comedy. Like we need more comedians that are, or even young people to aspire to comedy. So it's things like that we want to, like you said, have points of reference. It's like, yeah, we can do it. We there's a space for us. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's what the festival is about. It's like we're here. And,
well, it sounds like a West Side Story, Somewhere there's a space for us.
If you build it, they will come. I remember saying that in 2019. Oh no, Field of Dreams in 2019. I was like, they came. Everyone came. We built it and they came. It was,
Yeah. No.
it was just such an amazing thing, especially.
Well, no. I mean, you have a lot to be proud of. I mean, not just those 2 awards that and everything, but all the work and the seeing your company grow. Going 4 years, coming to your 5th year. I mean, it's an achievement.
It's 100% achievement. It's achievement for the community. I center Black Art, so 100% this is for the community. I keep saying I did not win. The community won because I center the community 100%. And like, I center Black Arts. I'm unapologetic about it as well. Like I very, yeah. So I will make sure, like, the way I curate it, we definitely center unapologetic arts. And so this within the 5th year, Chase, it's a win for you guys. We remember during the lockdown when we did the Springboard Zoom, how many artists did we get on that Zoom? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we did a play, we did a quiz. We just provided a platform for so many artists that was literally lost. And I think in 2020 as well, a lot of artists even commented, I hadn't been on stage. Like there was little to nothing going on in the lockdown.
Yeah,
it was just us guys, really.
Yeah.
And we partnered as well, which was amazing. I partnered with other organizations as well. So it's important. And I also recognize working with like grassroots organizations like myself. I think it's important that we continue to lift each other up. I think that's really, really important. And I think,
Jubeda Khatun, thank you for sharing your moment with us here at Liverpool Community Podcast. Once again, this has been an exciting time for me, as I hope exciting time for you guys. So I would once again like to thank Jubeda Khatun of Blackfest. Look out for the events that are coming up and everything. And for me, well, hey, you know what? We out of here.